I am John Rapley, the president of the Caribbean Policy Research Institute here, and or CaPRI as it's better known. CaPRI is essentially was born as a partnership between the local private sector and UEMONA, and its purpose was to generate high-quality applied research that would be of use to policymakers and also into the private sector itself in finding ways to accelerate the growth and development of the country and indeed of the region. We have had an ongoing research program on education reform, and we thought it was timely to hold a conference on this topic, which is the question of accountability, improving performance through accountability structures. Is there something that Jamaica can learn from the experiences of other countries? And so we'll start those proceedings shortly. I just thought we would get going with greetings from some of the main hosts and sponsors. I mentioned the partnership that created CaPRI between the university and the private sector. And one of the strongest supporters of CaPRI from its very beginning, along with two of his predecessors in the post, Ken Hall and Elsa Leo Riney, was Gordon Shirley, the principal of UEMONA. So I've asked him to just come and bring us greetings, and we'll get the proceedings started shortly after that. Gordon?
Thank you very much, John. It really is a pleasure for me to, on behalf of the University of West Indies, MONA, welcome all of you to this very important seminar on the reform of Jamaica education system, performance and accountability. And as John said, there is considerable support for the work that he and the folks at CaPRI have been doing, and we certainly are very pleased to join with the USAID on this endeavor and PREAL as well in mounting this exercise. You know, John, yes, in preparing for another presentation I have to do today, I was reflecting on a joint program that USAID had with the University of West Indies some time ago. The USAID actually funded the MONA School of Business, the initiation of the MONA School of Business, and I was looking back at what existed at the time that we were thinking about forming that institution, and the turbulence that existed in the mid-90s as the world globalized and so on. And I reflected that, well, if we were thinking about today, we would have the same level of turbulence in the environment that is out there. In fact, you know, there's a great degree of uncertainty. Then it was related to the fact that we were having this thrust towards globalization and the removal of tariff barriers and deregulating economies and companies. I see some of the leaders from our manufacturing sector here. At the time, the question was whether or not our manufacturing sector could compete in that environment. Today, it's all about turbulence in the financial sector, and some would have us believe that in reality what is necessary is simply to restore confidence in that financial sector. But there are some questions being asked, fundamental questions about which economies are going to be able to survive in this new environment. And obviously questions are being asked about whether or not Jamaica is going to be able to sustain itself if we're having a major slowdown in the major North American countries with whom we trade. Well, the answer to that question relates to the extent to which our economy has transformed itself from one which trades in the basic commodities to one which is able to compete effectively, not just in services, as we have normally said, but in the kinds of knowledge-based services that are going to be able to sustain competitive economies moving into the future. And the ability to do that really rests fairly fundamentally on the nature of the reforms in our educational system and how effective those reforms have been. We have been in this process for a fairly long time of reforming our educational system. The question is what has been the performance, how accountable has that system been, and what are the results which underpin our capacity and our confidence in growth in the future. And in that respect, John, I thought I would just read a few statistics about the Jamaican educational sector, and I promise it won't be more than a few more minutes. But The information that I have from some recent reports funded in part by the World Bank indicate that today in Jamaica, approximately 2/3 of the persons under the age of 34 have no academic qualification. The number without academic qualification increases to 76% among 35 to 49-year-olds and 79% among 50 to 59-year-olds and 89% for persons over 60. Approximately 80% of employed and unemployed workers and 74% of first-time job seekers have no vocational, technical, or professional training. There are approximately 142,000 youth who are out of school and out of work, and about a quarter of these youth did not go beyond grade 9. So that's sort of what happens at the level of persons who are out of the school system. But what about persons in the school system? The report card that I have in respect of the secondary school system says that some 57% of fourth grade students, well, this is for primary, were reading below grade level, and despite summer remediation programs, almost 16,000 students were retained in grade 4. The mean scores in math, science, social studies, and language at grade 6 achievement tests were all below 60%. In 2000, less than 60% of the students who sat CXC examinations at the end of the upper secondary cycle passed English language, and 7 out of 10 failed mathematics, and those numbers have actually declined substantially since that period. They haven't improved. Approximately 10,300 students left secondary school after grade 9, and another 35,000 after grade 11. For the past several years, the University of the West Indies, and we believe the other 2 major universities locally, have had to offer remediation programs in English classes for students who are entering the university system. So then what about at the tertiary level? In 2000, about 7.5% of the 18 to 24-year-olds were enrolled in tertiary education level in Jamaica. And that number has hovered just around there. It has increased, but it is still in single digits. Having just come from Trinidad, John, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago recently indicated that they are well ahead of their target to reach 60% of their cohort being trained at the tertiary level. And the target was to get to that level in 2020. He says they're ahead of target in order to reach to those numbers. And if you look at the economy, you can see the effect of that.